welcome to Resisting Boredom, back once again for the top 10 TV shows of 2013. The rest of the guys decided they really didn't watch enough TV to make a list, so I will be doing this alone. So, here's my list of the top 10 TV shows of the year 2013. A couple things different from last year. One, Community is not on this list as it was last year, mainly because 2013 was the season 4 year, right? The one without Dan Harmon. It was kind of a disappointment. Wasn't that great. It was alright. I mean, it had some good stuff, but not nearly enough to make this list. So, the other one, Boardwalk Empire, pretty high on my list last year. Season 3 of Boardwalk Empire was the one from that year. It was amazing. So this year, of course, was kind of a letdown. It couldn't live up to that. They didn't have Bobby Cannavale to be the villain to make things a lot more entertaining and exciting from the year before. So it's kind of a letdown. Plus, my favorite reason to watch that show is kind of now not on it. So, but it's ending this year, so we'll see if they can end on a strong note. That being said, let's get to the top 10 of the shows that actually did make the list this year. Number 10, Arrow. This show was pretty close last year in its debut of making my list. I really enjoyed the first season. However, I thought last year, between the spring and the fall, it really kind of picked up. It stepped up a notch. It started bringing in a lot more of the DC Universe into it, a lot more of those elements and things like that. And it kind of should hopefully show ABC what they maybe should be doing a little more of with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., since that show has kind of meandered. So, that is not on the list. Number 9. This was kind of the year that I started getting back into anime. Alright, I hadn't really watched anime in years. There were 2 shows that brought me back in. The first of those shows is my number 9. It is Sword Art Online. It is on Toonami, on Adult Swim, on Cartoon Network on Saturday nights, late at night. And that's where I've been watching it. I know I could watch it all online, but I prefer to watch it, in the best quality, on cable, things like that. Anyways, it was a great show. I'm surprised how much I actually care about the characters, and, they did an awesome thing in which halfway through the season they completely changed the show, reinvented it in a similar way, dealing with the events of the first half, and it still made sense and was still awesome, and I don't see things like that very often on TV, so props to Sword Art Online. That's why it gets my number 9. Number 8, Elementary. Yes, I know, Sherlock is better, and I agree. However, Elementary, if you consider it a different thing, a different take on it, you can have a lot of fun watching this show. It is well written, well acted, the characters are great. The things this year that made in particular put on this list, their stuff with Moriarty was some of the most unique and original take on it I think I've ever seen, so that alone kind of earns it a spot on here, but overall it's just a solid show week in and week out. With, the fact that they can do this every week. Sherlock only has to do 3 episodes every, year and a half. This show does, 20-some every year. So, props to that show, and, yeah. Elementary. Number 7. Number 7 is Mob City. Frank Darabont left The Walking Dead. There's some turmoil there, and he went off to make this new show and took some of those actors with him. That show is Mob City. I really liked the show. I know it was only 6 hours long. It was kind of like a preview season. However, I'm a sucker for, 40s gangster kind of noir sort of stories. I love that stuff. And this is another one of those. Simon Pegg in the first episode with his American accent was kind of jarring at first, but eventually I found that, hey, he did a pretty good job. So, but overall, that show, I really enjoyed it. I don't know, I don't hear many people talking about it, but I really thought it was awesome, and you should check it out if you got time. Hopefully it'll come back for another season. And yeah, Mob City. Number 6, Parks and Recreation. I don't remember if this made my list last year. It might have, but it might have just missed it. Parks and Recreation every year for the last 5 years or whatever has been a great show. It started out kind of slow, took a little time to build, kind of like The Office did, but eventually by season 3-ish, it really found its, voice, its comedy, its storytelling, things like that. It's probably one of the few shows that's getting better as it goes along. However, I really hope they don't draw it out like The Office. It's getting up there now in terms of seasons. I hope it only sticks around for another couple seasons, because I'd like to see it go out on top. And plus, I'm sure all of those great comedic actors in that show are probably getting a little too famous for their roles in that show, I guess. Especially if Guardians of the Galaxy takes off. That might take away Chris Pratt and, you know, things like that. So, yeah, but Parks and Recreation, great show. Probably one of the funniest shows I watched all year, and is the most consistently funny thing I can think of. So, Parks and Recreation, should be watching it. Number 5, we reach the second of the 2 animes that got me back into anime. The number 5, the second of which of those animes is Attack on Titan. I don't know what more can be said about this. If you are into anime or watch anime, chances are you've already seen this. You've probably watched it online, you probably love it. And yeah, everything has been said about that as you can. I just found out that it has just been brought on Netflix, so if you want to check it out, you have Netflix now to watch it. Great way to watch it. You don't have to just use Crunchyroll, because it hasn't come out in the States here, and it's not in English, so still have to read it on Netflix. But anyways, it's still awesome, still worth your time, you should still be watching it. And yeah, that show is amazing. If they made a live-action big-budget movie of that, it would probably be awesome if they got the right person doing it. With people flying around on their maneuver gear and fighting the Titans and stuff, it would be awesome. I don't know if that'll ever happen, and that'd be a very expensive movie, and it might take a couple movies to get through the story. But anyways, Attack on Titan should definitely be watched. If you're into anime, you've probably already seen it. If you are not into anime, you might want to check this one out anyways. It's very original and unique and an interesting story, so check it out. Number 4, The Newsroom. This was on my list last year, which means it has made it every year it's been on. I love Aaron Sorkin. Alright, I could probably watch any movie or TV show that he's written, and I'm kind of a latecomer to that party. I love The Social Network. I really liked Moneyball. I love The Newsroom. Eventually I will go back and watch The West Wing and maybe Sports Night and stuff like that. But anyways, I have found myself completely entertained by just the things people say in his stuff, and this is no exception. He basically here has made what I think, if this was the news, I would watch the news, and I don't watch the news because it's so entertaining. Then again, I don't know if you can get Jeff Daniels to read the news, so it might be a problem, and it's probably not going to be written by Aaron Sorkin, so it's kind of how it works. But anyways, The Newsroom, I thought it was great again in its second season. There was some people kind of not liking it as much second season. However, I still was thoroughly entertained, really enjoyed it, and yeah, I'm kind of sad that it's going to be gone after this year. So hopefully it'll make my list next year for the last time. Number 3. Now, my top 3, I'm going to tell you, have not changed in the last, I don't know, year or two, right? These have been the top 3 shows for years now, and it's a little different this year. My number 3 is The Walking Dead. Now, The Walking Dead lost a spot this year, and I really enjoyed the stuff they did in the fall. They really kind of redeemed what they did in the spring, which is why it's only number 3. In the spring, it kind of meandered a little, it kind of took a while to get to where they wanted to go, and the finale was very disappointing. I think most people share that same opinion, but it picked it up in the fall, so it's still a great show. I still enjoyed it. Even though it was disappointing, it wasn't a boring show, it wasn't something that I watched and went, I'm not going to watch the show anymore. I still really love the show. And I still love the comic too, and hopefully eventually we'll get to that point. But anyways, Walking Dead. Which brings me to number 2. Number 2 is what normally is at number 3, but it moved up this year, and that is Justified. Justified is the show I think that most people are missing out on. I think that things like Breaking Bad get all of the press and the talk, and people just forget about Justified. Justified is a great show. It is well written, well acted. Timothy Olyphant as Raylan Givens is one of the best characters on TV, period. He's so awesome and so badass, and yeah, I wish that guy was my police officer, right? Like he was my lawman in town. Anyways, Justified is a great show. It continued to be great. Didn't lose a beat at all. It's amazing that they keep going, bringing in new actors, new threats, and things like that, while keeping, the same old Timothy Olyphant, Walton Goggins thing going on, which doesn't get old because those guys are great and their characters are great and their storylines are great. Meanwhile, bringing in new people that are all awesome and make every season something new, something energetic, brings new life to it, but it's still an amazing show. Everyone should be watching Justified. So it's under the radar a little bit. I know it's pretty popular, but still, it doesn't get the press. Which leads me to number 1. Number 1 has not changed for the last 3 years. It's pretty obvious at this point what I'm going to say. Well, actually, that's not true. I know what, if you haven't watched me talk about shows, you may think you know what number one is, but it's not. Number one, actually, for me, is Game of Thrones. Game of Thrones is probably the greatest show I've ever seen, period. Every time it comes on, I need to watch it that night. I need to watch it as soon as possible. I cannot go on the internet before it is over. I have managed to stay spoiler free. I am reading the books, but behind the show, so nothing is spoiled for me. I love the characters, I love the story, I love the way you have no idea what's going to happen, the way that things are the most realistic in a fantasy setting I think I've ever seen. The wrong people die, the right people get away with things and thrive, and everything is amazing about this show. I don't know where it's going. Really, nobody knows where it's going in the end because it's not done being written. However, I can't see it getting worse, right? I'm super excited for this season. Yeah, just George R. R. Martin, please finish those stories because, you know, if you take this long, I don't know if you're going to finish them before you're gone, unfortunately. Sorry, but please finish them. Please finish them so this show can go on and those books can go on. Yeah, Game of Thrones is the greatest show I've ever seen. Alright, so that was my list. You may notice there is something missing. Something that is probably on just about every top 10 movie or TV show list you will see this year. That's Breaking Bad. Unfortunately, I wanted to watch Breaking Bad like after the first season when I started hearing about it being a great show. Never got around to it, and as years went on, I never had time to watch that show. I will watch it at one point. I know this to be true. It's over here, right? It's right here on the shelf. I can watch it. Plus I have Netflix. I can watch it that way too. I will watch it. I'm sure I will love it. I'm sure that I will regret the fact that I didn't watch it when I made these lists, and it will probably have been up near the top every year if I had. However, I can't say that for sure. That is why it's not on the list. If you're a Breaking Bad fan and you are kind of like, what the fuck is this? Sorry. If I had a bunch of time, I would totally watch it, and I'm sure I would love it. However, I did not, so it didn't make my list. So that was my list. I hope you enjoyed television in 2013. I know it's kind of a dying medium and that people are more into Netflix and binge watching and things like that. I try to stay current. I try to watch the shows as they come out. Sometimes I get a little behind, but that's just because there's so much good TV out there. So anyways, hope to see you in 2014. Hopefully we'll get a lot of great TV. Hopefully some of these shows will redeem themselves or get better. Hopefully some of them get canceled so I don't have to watch as much TV. But that's besides the point. Some things just deserve to be canceled because they've been on too long. But anyways, I'm rambling. Thanks for watching. And remember, TV is a good way of resisting boredom.